Welcome, empowered empaths, to the Power of Healing Your Energy show. This show is all about your unconditional love, your light, your intuition, your soul's purpose. And depression and anxiety are a side effect of not living intuitively, not trusting your gut, the lost connections with your higher self and others. Your soul's purpose is here. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Christine. I am, of course, your soul purpose mentor, and welcome to season 2, episode 20. It is Wednesday, January 27th, 2021, and today it's just me. We're solo, and we're talking about surviving death. Now, when I think of that, I'm like, of course, wanting to go, what do you mean by surviving death? How does one do that? And in everything we're doing right now, do we really want to survive? Because I've seen people actually post memes, the UFO or whatever, take me now, beam me up, Scotty. Like people are ready. I really don't think there is a fear of death and dying anymore, because we become more conscious and aware of it. We're talking about death more. We're talking about near-death experiences. I've actually had guests on my show that have had near-death experiences. So we're talking about all of that today and more. And if you're here, say hello. If you're new, say hello. Let us know where you're from, of course. And if you're on the replay, feel free to ask any questions. We won't leave you hanging. The collective, all of us, we're in this together. And where did this start? Well, I seen a trailer on Netflix, and they're talking about what happens after we die and how we explore personal stories and research, our near-death experiences, reincarnation, and the paranormal phenomena. As I feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there. Science, is depending on who you talk to, is getting close. However, they still want to pick apart everything, or I'm a skeptic, and I want to try and poke holes in the story, and I want to test things. But they're not coming from an open heart. They're coming from, the left brain. Everything has to be analyzed. Everything has to be analytical. There has to be, you have to prove it. And a lot of things are not to be proven. They are to be felt. They are to be experienced. Just saying, I can't imagine, with people passing in 2020 and even now, and our pets as well, like not being able to be there when somebody passes. That's why training to be a chaplain. It's important. I know of some people who are death doulas, and people are like, what do you mean? Well, if you can help someone birth a new child into this world, how can you not help somebody who is dying and needs comfort and needs to know that God is going to be there when they cross. And that's what this show is all about, is these people are crossing, they're passing. They've had so many stories where they are seeing God, or they're seeing their loved ones that have passed and crossed over coming to them, or they're hearing God's voice, or they're seeing Jesus. They're getting all of these experiences because that's what happens. It's a transition. It's a transition. And it's supposed to be the most loving and peaceful part when you pass, not scared, alone. It's like final, it's finite. It isn't. We continue to go on. And I've talked about before, if we all have soul contracts. So if we have something that we have not learned, because we've all come here with a contract to learn something, a lesson, whatever it happens to be. If we have not fulfilled that contract, we are coming back again in different form, maybe as your mother or your grandchild or whatever it happens to be. We are coming back. So let me know what your experiences are. Do you have, or have you had a near-death experience? Do you know of anyone that's had a near-death experience? There's, lots of stories. I can think of my friend Honey Bee. She passed away when she was 6 in a car crash, and she vividly remembers. And a lot of this, if you haven't seen the series, it's amazing. It really makes you question, and coming from a child as well. Children don't make these things up. When you watch, I think it was the last episode, very matter of fact. That was my old mom. You're my new mom. Kids just don't walk around saying stuff like that. And they knew full names and had full memories. And it was a past life imprinted on them. It was a trauma that was imprinted on them. And, to dismiss a child, to dismiss anyone when they say they've had this experience or they feel like they've had this experience, that's part of the problem, is we're dismissing things because, oh, that's crazy. That's usually you got to get out of the ego and really be open to all possibilities, because ego is edging God out. And we've been doing it for too long. So now, I honestly feel like I've died 1,000 deaths, as they would say. And that is something an old soul will say. But do I have a recollection of a near-death experience? Not myself personally, but I do feel that I've lived a very, very long life. It's hard to describe. A lot of deja vu, I guess, is what I'm saying. When people tell you things, even as a child, that the energy and what they're saying does not match what they're lying. They're lying. And I'm sure kids, that they'll say it, they can feel it. And a lot of times us adults will just be like, oh, little Timmy, you're just imagining things. And no, they're not. They're not imagining anything. In fact, they're imagining way more than we could ever imagine. And we need to come back to their level. And that's why, doing the inner child work is very important. So yeah. And do you believe in reincarnation? I absolutely do. I know that it doesn't end, with death. That is just really the beginning. And I honestly see it as a blessing. You get to go back, you get to reunite with your family. And we're talking about your pets and anyone that you've crossed paths with will be there waiting for you with open arms. To me, that just sounds absolutely beautiful. And there is no disease of the mind or the body or the soul of the spirit. It's all love. It's all beauty. Flowers. I mean, I've heard people describe, just tons of flowers and trees and beauty and children playing and animals frolicking. It's just a very magical, dreamlike state. And I honestly, of course, imagining that feels wonderful, but it also, for many of us, it seems too out there in a way, too woo. And that's us. If you're going there, that's because you don't want to go there. You need to look at this. And let me know if you've watched this documentary on Netflix. It's eye-opening. There's even some of the folks are very skeptical, but curious. That's what it is. They're still curious. It's when you say, no, I don't believe it. And that's crazy, that there's no such thing, that you're already closed off to it. So it doesn't matter how much evidence, is basically smacked in your face, you're still not going to see it, right? It's like the nail in the forehead analogy. It's there, it's there, but you're choosing not to take it out. That's same with any problem. The problem's there, but you are choosing, that's your choice. That is what they call free will, and my will is God's. So I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel, right? Because I got nothing to do with this, right? The ego part. The other part is I'm willing to look at this and explore this because it's been happening so much. Same with the UFOs and aliens and, Bigfoot and all of it. It's all there. It's all there. Okay. That's what I believe. Oh, Patty. Hi, Patty. Nice to see you. It's called Surviving Death. Surviving Death. That was the title of the show too. I was very, very inspired by it. My son watched it as well, and he was blown away. I mean, we just sat there. We had chills. There's no way to describe it. And the institute that they had out in Europe, where it's a paranormal, and they all come in, and they have that one lady strapped down in the chair, and I'm just like, wow, I wanted to be part of it. I'm like, I wish we could do that now. We're doing it online and through Zoom and all that, but to have that in-person experience, to be part of that energy, just mind-blowing. And it also shows how some people, when they lose someone they care about very much, they want to hear a message from their loved ones that's crossed over. They need a sign. They're sending signs all the time. Here's the thing. We're so blinded by grief and holding on to how it should look and feel like that we miss the signs all the time. We're too attached. We need to practice non-attachment and just letting go and letting it come in. It reminds me of the gentleman. He had lost his father, and he was so desperate to find the signs, but at the same time, he was very cut off from himself spiritually. There was a disconnection, if that makes sense. Yeah, Lynn says that she watched it. It was very good. Yeah, very good. I'm waiting for season 2 here. Waiting for season 2. Yeah, and hearing other people's experiences, and then the doctors that actually talk to the children or, about their experiences, they were skeptics, but they were curious. See, that's the difference. They were not closed-minded. They still had the part that was open and thinking, this is possible. This is possible. Just like Albert Einstein, no one talks about how intuitive he was and multidimensional he was. They just talk about the science part, but we know otherwise. He channeled everything that he got in. He channeled. Same with Nikola Tesla. Everything that came in for him was channeled. That channeling it's a divine inspiration from source, wherever that source is. So when I say I channel, I'm not special in any way, because you can channel too. This is not something that you need to take or do. It's something that you practice. That's all it is. Same with mediumship, same with healing. Jesus was a healer. Come on now. We're all healers. I'm very drawn to this near-death experience. Yeah, Patty, it is. It's so true. And I need to learn how. Exactly. And be very open. It's like removing old systems, thoughts, and how things should be, pushing it aside. And you are just a open vessel for source to flow through with nothing interfering. That's how channeling, mediumship, anything that is, from God coming through. It's really getting out of our own way. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. So I was looking, going online, and I Googled, the top experts in near-death experiences. And I came across, I believe I've got it down here. It's called Near-Death Experiences Research Foundation. And they've got a website. It's nderf.com. And it's the largest near-death experience in the world. 4,800 stories so far and counting. Plus, they're going to have a new documentary coming up, Beyond the Veil, it's called. So I'm very interested in it. In fact, I've reached out to them to see if I could maybe get them on the show. But I also want to volunteer because I'm very drawn to, because I do deal with death. When I do mediumship readings, a lot of people that come to me are grieving a loss and are so desperate to hear from their loved ones. And they just want to know that when they crossed, they had no pain, and that they're there, and that they'll always be here. And they do remember all the things that you said to them or maybe didn't say to them. And they know. And I am just a bridge. That's merely all I do. And the work that I do is very sacred. Just, talking about it a little bit, I get emotional because it is sacred. This is, you are in service for others. That's how I see it. And being the bridge between, this 3D world, Earth, and heaven, and being that bridge and being the guide that brings the communication pieces together. So, I'm going to leave that up there. So if you want to go and check it out, it's pretty amazing. And I wanted to show, John Edwards. Yeah, he's a world famous medium. There's quite a few out there. And honestly, that's, the work that we're doing. I think that's why we're becoming more open to everything. And we're sharing more. We're collaborating more. We're creating more. So I feel like this is just very, very important work. And that is my soul's purpose. It's not the work. It's the serving of people and giving them peace when they're not feeling peaceful or feeling such loss and such sadness. And letting them know too that there is life after death. And that it's beautiful. It really is. I'm just really, and I also want to bring in a death doula as well. I feel, if we celebrate when a baby comes into the world, why can't we celebrate in a way when someone leaves, right? We got to start doing this properly, just like having a will. Do you have a will? Do you have an estate plan? Because I hear lots of stories, people fighting over assets and money, and families becoming even more split if they weren't before, or they're very close and so split because they're fighting over the dad has passed away, his assets. That is probably the saddest part. Yeah, and Patty's saying death is becoming more believable, in which the Bible says the beauty of heaven. Yeah, we've got to stop. Well, we've been conditioned to see death as a terrible, dark, they'll say they just in the ground and you're done. Very cold and very cold. And it causes detachment, and it causes dehumanization as well, and separation, as far as I'm concerned. That's why I wanted to talk about this show. But I'm going to, I'd like to share my screen for a minute, because there's a video I wanted to play from the Near Death Experience website. And they're just talking a little bit more about the new documentary that's coming out. And yes, I'd love to have these people on the show. So, and if you know anybody that does amazing work, in the spiritual realms, or, it really doesn't matter. But of course, this podcast is all about spirituality mainly. But if they have a pretty powerful story, please, send them my way as well. Oh, and Patty's just saying, cremation for me, and spread my ashes, be free. I love that. That's a very nice sentiment. And I see a lot more people doing that with cremation, and making jewelry out of it, or always having a piece, or having, even with their animals, having their paw prints, whatever it is. That's beautiful. And we should be honoring and remembering, but not, if we've been grieving for someone for 5 years, there's a problem. There's a problem. That needs to be healed. That's where we have to kind of make sure we have some boundaries as well. So, all right. So I'm just going to bring this up. Yeah, I've got the video here. We are going to share the screen. All right. And oh yeah, sharing the audio would be good too, especially if I'm playing a video. All right. And here we go.
What is death? Do we know what happens when we die? Does anyone know if we exist beyond this life, or is death really the end?
Death is a transformation of consciousness from this physical domain, which is by and large illusory, to another dimension of existence that is apparently so far beyond what we experience here in the physical realm that we can't even describe it in earthly terms.
Well, my belief is, and I think it's consistent with the Catholic tradition, is that once we pass beyond the veil, everything will be revealed. Not only everything about creation, but everything about ourselves. And so in one sense, then, you could say that death is one part of that process of self-discovery.
Almost all people that have had a glimpse beyond the veil of death and have had some encounter with what we as Latter-day Saints would call the spirit world, or as Emanuel Swedenborg would call heaven, or my evangelical Christian friends would call heaven. But almost all of them speak of the overpowering, overwhelming, all-encompassing, all-consuming sense of love.
What I realized is, wow, that's God. At the highest level, that's the Almighty. And I actually began to become fearful. I thought, wow, I'd grown up thinking life's a test and I'm going to be judged, and I'm holding my little boy who died because I wrecked the car. I cut his life short because I lost control or dozed off, and suddenly there felt like there was physical arms that wrapped around and just held us. And then there was this download, this overwhelming communication. and I was told there's nothing to forgive.
We get censored so much when we experience something that is outside of other people's reality system, but yet to actually share that you've been out of your body, to actually share that you've been somewhere else, trying to share these things, I really admire them for their courage.
The moment your heart stops beating, of course, immediately blood stops flowing to the brain. 10 to 20 seconds after a bad event, the EEG or electroencephalogram, which is a measure of brain electrical activity, goes absolutely flat. There is no measurable brain electrical activity. It should be impossible to have any kind of conscious memory at that point in time, and yet, literally by the thousands, people have reported near-death experiences under those circumstances.
People on the boundary of death, very often declared dead and then pulled back, they describe experiences. We've been able to classify them. They have structure to them very often. They appear to happen at a point in time when it at least appears scientifically that the brain is not functioning.
And I believe that there is so much that we don't know about end of life, and that those who are dying are almost, have the key. That if we allow that key to open, and if we're not afraid of what is there as the key is turning, there's so much we can gather.
What I'm saying is that there's something much more. There's something bigger, more powerful, more universal, more connected than what we have discovered with science to date.
Discover what science, religion, and those who have died and come back have to teach us about what comes next. All right. Yeah, that was pretty powerful. I didn't watch it beforehand, so I was like, okay. I'm watching it along with all of you. Hopefully the audio was good. Powerful. The Jesus, the God part, you're forgiven. There's nothing to forgive. And we have the key. Are you ready to turn the lock? Are you ready to open up to what's possible? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm going to be watching. So let me know in the comments what you think of the show. And then he also brought in, the piece about science. And it's like, okay, yes, I get the science piece, but let's not hang off of that too much, because then we want to get attached to it, right? Like, oh, well, science proved it, so it must be true. Not everything can be proven. It is how someone feels. It's their experience. That's why it's called a near-death experience. That's why it's called a reincarnation. That is why when you get messages, from a medium or from a psychic or from a channeler or whoever, a healer, these are messages that are coming through from spirit to you for your soul's purpose. This is for your soul, not for me. Has nothing to do with me or them, whoever it is. It is for you. And if it comes through otherwise, like they say, there's a problem, because it's not coming from the highest love, the highest vibration. And, the more that I'm learning about this, near-death experience, because I remember as a child, I wasn't afraid of death up until I think we watched a video in grade 5 about, like nuclear explosions, like bombs going off. Well, yeah, that kind of scared me. So it was seeing something that, really wasn't for my, for a benefit. It was to keep us in fear. So that part of death I feared, because it seems so traumatic and finite and scary, right? That's at least how I saw death. Everybody was sad. some people mourned and hung on to the person for a very long time, and they never fully became themselves again. I know that there's a piece, and I'm not discrediting or saying that, if you lost someone, to get over it, or it's not that bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is how we become so attached to the person. The person is not the body. It's the soul that lives on, and it lives through, and it comes through in other things. Like there was the boy who, he was an old soul. He was someone else. And I don't want to give too much of the show away if you haven't watched it. So just very touching. Really makes me want to dive deeper into this. Because as doing hospice, which I'd love to do, I feel it's very important that everybody does not die alone. And they all have the comfort and the beauty of knowing that, I'm handing you off to God, and God's waiting for you. That it's a beautiful transition, making the transition as beautiful and as loving and as peaceful as possible, because that's what we all deserve. That's what I feel. So. Patty's asking the question. So do you think there is a hell? I mean, people who kill and have no remorse. That, you know what? I believe that there is heaven and there is below. And I think with the Bible, and depending on who you talk to, they like to scare you into that judgment or that fear judgment, that if you do something wrong, you're going to hell, you're going to burn in hell. You hear that quite a bit. So that's just a fear-based programming that they want to keep you in fear. As for killing that have no remorse, well, I mean, when it comes to no remorse, meaning they're not in their right mind, which many is the case. There was a detachment from the soul. Where they go, I almost feel like it's in between. That's just my opinion. In between. Not above and not below. And reincarnating to come back to learn that lesson. Because that's the lesson. They say hurt people hurt people. And the no remorse, again, is not in the right mind. But there's also another part. They become detached from human, like being human, feeling. And it's almost like dog eat dog in a way, if that makes sense. That is a tough one, but that's my belief. So I don't know what yours is, and everybody's entitled to have their own opinions and feelings on that. All right, so this was a pretty heavy topic. And I didn't even get to ask, but I did ask already about near-death experiences and what are your thoughts on life after death. So if you catch this on the replay, you can definitely reach out. Okay. And we also know, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, but coming up here tomorrow, and depending on where you are in the world, we have a lovely full moon in Leo, and pretty fiery. They also call it the full wolf moon, which is interesting because my son and I were talking about wolves yesterday. So, don't forget to do your rituals, whatever they happen to be, the smudging, the cleansing, clearing vibrational energy, having that beautiful bath, essential oils, sound therapy, whatever it is, dance, sing, play music, have fun. All right. And we also have Mercury retrograde coming up on Sunday, going until the 21st of February. So retrogrades are just about revisiting things and coming back. But there will be some communication issues, transportation issues, computer stuff. But this is a great time to plan, research, and prepare, right, for something that is coming later, which, speaking of preparing, I am going to be, and I don't have the graphic for it. What? No. I am coming back for the 5D Love Summit. I did this in April 2020. I am doing another one in April 2021, where we're going to bring on guests every half hour talking about all things spirituality, any type of coaching, mentors, healers, light workers. They're all going to have different topics. So look out for that. I'm pretty excited about that. As well, I do have a video up about 2021 and beyond. So if you're interested to see what's going to go on in 2021, no predictions. I mean, like my mentor says, because we're in so many different multi-dimensional timelines and levels right now, and people are coming more awake, you cannot make those huge predictions anymore because things change so quickly. Everything is changing so quickly. The energy is so quick, it is always ramping up. As well, I have the Dream Vision Map workshop available for purchase on my website. So if you're still looking to build your intentions, your vision for the year, and we meet every 3 months, so you can come in at any time. You can ask questions, you can network with the other ladies that are in the group and, start building, collaborating a community, because we're building this dream vision map together. All right. I don't think I missed anything this time. All right. So yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Patty. Yes, she likes to hear others' opinions, and that's amazing to have a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing, as Wayne Dyer once beautifully said. And he has so many lovely quotes, but I do remember that one quite well, because that's how we're going to be the bridge, because that's why we're here. We are the bridge between this and the and the other world, and we're bridging this new world. Yes, we are. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any other questions on this, please feel free to leave in the comments below. And I want to wish everyone an amazing week, sending out lots of love, lots of light, lots of peace, lots of blessings. And please remember, healing begins where the ego ends. Take care.